The chained beast, she sat in the corner of a cold, dark cell. Her wrists and ankles were wrapped in thick metal cuffs. Chains rattled every time she moved. The floor was wet. The air smelled of oil, dust, and old blood. Her name was Kalia, but to the humans she had no name. They called her the Beast. She looked nothing like them. Her skin was a soft violet. Her eyes glowed faintly blue in the dark. Her long hair fell in tangled waves around her thin shoulders. She hadn't eaten in days. She had forgotten the taste of clean water. But even worse, she had forgotten what it felt like to be touched with kindness. Every time the heavy door creaked open, she braced herself. Sometimes they came just to look at her. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they threw food, rotten and dirty, and sometimes they hit. She never fought back. She was too tired, too broken. She didn't even know why they took her. Her ship was shot down. Her people were scattered. She remembered fire, and screaming, and falling. When she woke up, she was in chains. Now the door creaked open again. Her heart jumped. She curled up tighter in the corner, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her eyes shut. She was ready. She thought, this is the day. This is when I die. But then, nothing. No yelling, no boot stomping, only footsteps. Calm, slow. Kalia opened one eye, just a little. A man stood in the doorway. He didn't wear a soldier's uniform. He had a simple shirt, dark trousers, and worn-out boots. His face was not angry, just tired. He looked at her for a long time. Then he stepped inside and placed something on the floor. A cup of water. Kalia stared at it. She didn't move. The man didn't say anything. He reached into a small bag and pulled out a blanket. Gently, he walked over and knelt beside her. She flinched, but he didn't touch her. He just set the blanket next to her feet. Then he sat down. On the cold floor. She didn't understand. No one had done this before. He spoke, finally. His voice was low and calm. You look cold. She blinked. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't mocking her. His voice didn't have the hate others had. My name's Ryan, he said. I fix things here. Engines, doors, ships. He pointed at himself. Ryan. She didn't answer. Of course she didn't. No one had ever asked her name. He didn't push her. He didn't force her to talk. He just sat there in silence. After a few minutes, he stood up again. He looked at her one more time and then walked back toward the door. She thought he was leaving. But then, he said softly, I'll come back tomorrow. The door closed. Silence returned. Kalia sat frozen. She didn't touch the blanket. She didn't touch the water. Not yet. Her body wanted both. But her heart didn't know how to believe in this kind of moment. Was it a trick? Was this man lying, or was he real? She stayed awake the whole night staring at the cup. Morning came. Light slipped through the tiny crack above the wall. The water was still there, untouched. Real. She crawled forward, slowly. Her chains scraped across the floor. She picked up the cup. Her hands trembled. She took one small sip. Cool. Fresh. Tears filled her eyes, not because of the water, but because someone, finally, had not hurt her. That night, the door opened again. Ryan returned. This time he brought soft bread and a small bottle of healing cream. He looked at her wrist cuffs. They had cut into her skin. Quietly, he opened the bottle and placed it on the floor near her. Still, he didn't touch her. Still, he didn't force her. He just said, I don't believe you're a beast. No monster cries like that. Her eyes went wide. Had he heard her last night? Had she cried out loud? He stood up and turned to leave. Then her voice came out so soft like a whisper in the wind. Kalia. He stopped. What? She looked down, afraid, but she repeated, Kalia. That's my name. He smiled, a real smile. Warm, gentle. Hello, Kalia. And for the first time since her capture, the chained girl didn't feel like a beast. She felt seen, the kind stranger. The next evening, the door creaked again. Kalia didn't flinch this time. Her chain still held her, her wounds still ached, but something inside her was waiting. Not for pain, not for fear, for him. Ryan stepped in again, quiet as before. He had a small bag slung over his shoulder and something else. He was carrying a tiny metal box in his hand. He smiled at her. You remembered water. That's good. She didn't answer, but she had drunk the water. She had even wrapped the blanket around her the night before, and for a few hours, she'd felt safe. Ryan walked closer, carefully, like one would approach a wild animal. He knelt again and opened the small metal box. Inside were pieces of soft cloth, ointment, and bandages. Let me help your wrists, he said. Kalia looked at him. Her eyes held doubt, fear, confusion, but no longer terror. He reached out slowly, paused, then gently touched her arm. She didn't pull away. The moment his fingers brushed her skin, she froze. Not from fear, but because it had been so long since she felt a touch that didn't hurt. Ryan unwrapped the old blood-stained cloths around her wrists. Her skin was raw, torn, ugly, but he didn't say a word. He worked gently, cleaning the wounds and applying the ointment. She winced once, but didn't stop him. You don't have to speak, he said softly. But I'll keep coming, Kalia. I don't care what they say about you. Her lips parted. What do they say? He paused. They say you're a killer, a weapon, that you'll tear someone apart the second you're free. She looked down. Ryan shook his head. But I don't see that. I see someone who's scared and hurt. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small piece of fruit, red, shiny, fresh. He held it out. You ever try this? We call it an apple. She looked at it like it was from another world, which to her it was. She took it, slowly, brought it to her lips, bit into it. Sweet, juicy. Her eyes widened. She swallowed hard. I used to pick them. With my brother, Ryan said, leaning back against the wall beside her. Before the war. He didn't make it. Kalia turned her head toward him. I'm sorry. He nodded. Me too. Silence sat between them. But it wasn't cold this time. It was calm, safe. Why? Are you helping me? She finally asked. Ryan looked up at the flickering light on the ceiling. Because when I saw you in this cage, I saw someone who didn't belong there. And I knew if I walked away, I'd become like the others. Kalia blinked. Her fingers still held the half-eaten apple. She hadn't tasted something so sweet in her whole life. She said quietly, You're not like them. He chuckled. I try not to be. Suddenly a loud knock came from outside the cell door. Ryan quickly stood. I have to go, he whispered. If they see me here too long, they'll start asking questions. She nodded. But as he reached the door, she called out, Ryan. He stopped. She opened her mouth to speak more, but nothing came. She just looked at him. Really looked, and he understood. He gave a nod. I'll be back tomorrow. The door closed again. Kalia sat there staring at the half-eaten fruit in her hand, and for the first time in many suns and moons, she smiled. Not because she was free, not because the chains were gone, but because someone saw her as more than a beast. Someone called her by her name and didn't turn away. Scars on both sides. Ryan came back again the next night, but something was different this time. His shoulders were tense. His face looked tired, like he hadn't slept. He had no bag with him, no food, no medicine, no tools. Just a quiet look in. His eyes. Kalia sat on the floor as usual, her chains still tight around her ankles. She had been waiting. The apple was gone, the blanket was wrapped around her shoulders. Her wounds were starting to heal. but her heart was still unsure. "You're late," she said softly. Ryan looked at her and gave a weak smile. "They stopped me at the gate. They asked why I keep visiting you." Kalia lowered her eyes. "You should stop." He walked closer and sat beside her again. "I won't." She stared at him. "But they'll hurt you." Ryan sighed. "They might." She asked, voice shaking, "Well, why risk that for me?" He looked straight at her and said, "Because I know what it's like to be in pain and no one cares." Silence filled the air. Kalia turned her head slowly. "You?" He nodded. "Years ago, I was captured too. Not by aliens, by humans. My own people." She frowned. "Why?" Ryan's voice was low. "My brother disobeyed a war order. He saved a group of alien children. I tried to protect him. The officers beat me. They punished me. And when my brother was killed, they called it justice." Kalia's breath caught. "You were punished? For kindness?" He nodded. She whispered, "So was I." Ryan looked at her, truly looked, as if seeing her for the first time all over again. "What happened?" Kalia didn't speak at first. Then she slowly lifted the sleeve of her worn, dirty tunic. Underneath were long, deep scars. They looked like claw marks, but uneven. Human tools had made them. "I was a healer on my world. I helped wounded humans when your ships crashed near our village. I didn't know we were at war. I just wanted to help." She closed her eyes. "They took me anyway." Ryan's jaw clenched. "They said you were dangerous." She nodded. "I never hurt anyone, but they beat one of their own in front of me. Then they said I caused it." Her voice cracked. "So they chained me." Ryan's hands curled into fists. For a moment, both sat in silence, two souls scarred by war, betrayal, and silence. Then, Kalia whispered, "I used to hate humans." Ryan didn't flinch. "But now, I see you." She looked up at him, into his eyes. "And you're not like the others." Ryan said softly, "You're not what they said either. You're not a beast." She smiled faintly. "You're the first to believe that." Just then, loud voices echoed outside the walls. Boots stomped by. Ryan quickly stood and backed away from the door. Kalia whispered, "Are they watching you?" He nodded. "They're suspicious. I think they'll try to move you." She looked terrified. "To where?" "I don't know. Maybe a lab. Maybe worse." Her chains rattled as she leaned forward. "Ryan, don't let them take me." He didn't say anything, but his silence said everything. He wouldn't. As he opened the door, he paused one last time. "I'll find a way," he whispered. "I promise." Then he was gone. Kalia looked down at her scars. Her hands trembled. Her heart raced. Not from fear this time, but from hope. A dangerous, fragile thing. But maybe, just maybe, it had returned. Trouble at the outpost Ryan didn't come the next night. Kalia waited. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat the small food rations tossed in earlier. Her eyes stayed locked on the door, but it never opened. Only footsteps, only guards, only silence. Her heart sank with each passing hour. Had they punished him? Had they taken him away because of her? She curled into a corner of the cell, her arms around her legs. She whispered to herself, "You should have never spoken, never trusted." But deep inside, she hoped. The following evening she heard shouting. Not from inside her cell, but outside down the hall, angry voices arguing, then his voice. "Ryan." She stood up suddenly, chains clinking against the floor. The voices grew louder, and then crash. A sound like metal falling, a table knocked over. "Don't touch her again," Ryan yelled. "She's not a pet, Ryan. She's a creature," a soldier shouted back. She's not your prisoner to play with. Ryan's voice cracked with fury. You're losing your mind over that alien trash. Kalia stepped back from the bars, eyes wide. Moments later, the door burst open. Ryan stood in the doorway, breathing hard. His lip was bleeding. His shirt, torn at the shoulder, his fists still clenched. He looked at her and his face softened. I'm sorry, he said. They tried to come in here earlier. I stopped them. Barely. Kalia's voice shook. They'll hurt you more. You have to go, he shook his head. No, not without you. She blinked. What? Ryan stepped closer, lowering his voice. I know a way out. A supply door on the west side. They don't check it at night, she whispered. You'll get executed. Ryan nodded. Maybe, but I'd rather die helping someone innocent than live watching her suffer. Kalia's lip trembled. No one had ever said that for her before. Ryan, she began. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal key. I stole it. I can unlock your chains. She stepped back, fear rising. I'm not ready. What if... Do you trust me? Her eyes met his. She nodded. Slowly, he knelt and unlocked her ankle cuffs. One by one, the heavy shackles dropped with a loud clunk. Her wrists followed. The weight was gone. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, Kalia stood up without chains. She wobbled. Ryan reached out to steady her. I've got you, he whispered. She looked down at her wrists. Bruised, bleeding, but free. Thank you, she breathed. Just then the alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Someone had noticed. Ryan grabbed her hand. Run! They raced down the hallway, boots pounding behind them. Soldiers shouted, Stop them! But Kalia moved fast. Her legs, though weak, remembered how to run. Her heart beat wildly, not from fear now, but fire. They crashed through. The west door into the cold night air. Snow was falling. Ryan helped her into the back of a maintenance rover. He started the engine. Lights from the outpost danced behind them like angry eyes. Where are we going? Kalia asked, breathless. Far, he said. Far from anyone who wants to hurt you. She looked back at the base, at the cold walls, at the life of silence and pain she had escaped. Then she looked at Ryan. He was shaking, but still driving, still fighting. For her. And for the first time, she reached out and placed her hand gently over his, not trembling, not afraid. Escape plan snow covered the ground like a blanket of silence. The rover's wheels crunched over frozen soil as Ryan drove into the dark forest. Cold wind slipped through broken vents, but neither of them complained. Kalia sat quietly beside him, wrapped in the old blanket he had once left in her cell. She was free, but not safe. Not yet. Ryan stopped the rover near a hidden ridge. Below it sat a worn, rusted cargo ship, half buried under leaves and snow. This is it, he said. Kalia looked at the ship, then back at him. You had this the whole time? He nodded. It's mine. Old smuggler ship. Hidden here in case I ever needed to disappear, she frowned. And now you're using it. For me? Ryan gave a small smile. For us? I'm not going back either. Kalia's heart tightened. You're leaving everything behind? Ryan replied. There's nothing worth staying for. Not after what they did, not after what I've seen. They climbed into the ship. Dust covered everything. Lights flickered weakly. The air smelled of metal and oil. Ryan moved fast. He wiped down controls, checked panels, and hit buttons she didn't understand. You know how to fly it? She asked. He grinned. Well, it's been a while. He handed her a small silver pack. Food, not great, but better than moldy bread. She smiled. Thank you. He paused. How's your leg? She looked down. One ankle was swollen from the chains. Hurts, she admitted, but it'll heal. Ryan crouched beside her and wrapped it carefully. "Just a few hours," he said, "and we'll be far enough. They won't follow us through the dead zones." Suddenly, a red light blinked. On the console, Ryan's face darkened. "Tracking beacon, they activated it." Kalia stood up, alarmed. "They're coming?" He nodded. "We have less time than I thought." She took a shaky breath. "Then go. Start it. Now." He sat in the pilot chair and pressed the ignition. Nothing. The ship rumbled, then went quiet. Ryan cursed under his breath. "Fuel cells frozen. I need 5 minutes." Kalia limped over to the door and locked the entrance. "You'll have it." "Kalia," he said softly. "They'll kill you if they catch us." She looked him in the eyes. "They already tried. More than once." Then, her voice lowered. "This time I won't be chained. I'll fight." Ryan didn't argue. Outside, lights flickered in the distance. A scout ship. Soldiers. Kalia turned to Ryan one last time. "If I don't make it, you keep going." "No," he said instantly. "We leave together, or not at all." Her eyes welled with tears. "Why do you care so much?" He walked over and gently touched her face. "Because when I looked at you, I saw someone who had every reason to hate, but still chose hope." The engines roared. Just then, loud banging came from the ship's door. "Open up," shouted a voice. "We know she's inside." Ryan rushed to the controls. Just another minute. Kalia grabbed a pipe from the floor and stood guard. The metal door bent slightly from the outside pressure. Her hands trembled, but she stood. Tall, she wasn't just a captive anymore. She wasn't just a number. She was Kalia. Then blast, the ship shook. Ryan shouted, "Hold on!" He slammed the launch button. The thrusters ignited. The old cargo ship lifted into the sky with a roar of fire and light. Outside, the soldiers yelled and scrambled, but it was too late. They were gone. Kalia dropped the pipe and fell to her, knees laughing and crying at the same time. Ryan reached her, held her tightly. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Because freedom wasn't just distance from chains. It was the moment she chose to fight for herself, and someone chose to fight for her. The crash in the cave. The stars blurred past the window as the old cargo ship soared through the dead zone. Kalia watched in awe. She had never seen this part of the galaxy before. It was silent, wide, and strangely peaceful. Ryan sat in the pilot's seat, face tense, eyes scanning the controls. "How far are we now?" she asked. "Far enough to be off their radar," he replied. "But not safe yet." She leaned back in the seat, holding the blanket close. Her body was still sore, her heart still heavy. But for once she wasn't looking over her shoulder, until the ship jolted, hard. The lights flickered, alarms beeped. Kalia gripped the seat. "What was that?" Ryan cursed. "A pulse mine. Old tech, hidden in dead zones. They're meant to trap smugglers." Smoke hissed from the panel. The controls sparked. "We're losing power," Ryan shouted. The ship tilted sharply. Kalia fell forward but caught herself. "Can you land it?" Ryan's eyes were locked on the screen. "Not land, crash, hold on." The ship spun, flames shot from its side. Everything shook as metal screamed against gravity. Then, impact. Silence. Kalia opened her eyes slowly. Smoke filled the air. Sparks popped around them. Her ears rang. Her body ached. She looked over. Ryan was slumped over the console. "Ryan," she cried, crawling toward him. She shook his shoulder. He groaned. "Alive." She helped him sit up. Blood trickled down his forehead. "Where are we?" he asked. Kalia looked outside. A snowy forest, ice-covered trees, sharp mountains in the distance. "No idea," she said softly. Ryan winced. "We need shelter." She nodded. Hours passed. The sun disappeared behind clouds. Winds grew stronger. The cold bit at their skin. They had taken what they could from the ship. Blankets, a lantern, emergency rations. Then they limped away into the woods. Ryan could barely walk. He leaned on her. Each step burned her legs, but she didn't stop. Finally, she saw a rocky cliff with a small cave opening. There, she pointed. They crawled inside. It wasn't much, but it was dry and hidden. Ryan collapsed beside the wall, breathing heavily. His hands trembled. Kalia lit the lantern and wrapped a blanket around him. You need rest. He smiled faintly. Look who's taking care of who now, she smiled back. Your turn. That night, Kalia sat awake. She watched over him, listened to the wind howl outside. She thought about the cell, the chains, the rotten food, and then about Ryan. No one had ever treated her like he did. She touched her wrist where the cuffs once sat. The skin was bruised but healing, and her heart still broken, but not alone. In the morning, Ryan stirred. His voice was weak. We made it? Kalia nodded. We're still breathing. That counts. He laughed softly, then coughed. She leaned down and gave him water. He looked at her with tired eyes. You saved me. She shook her head. You saved me first. Ryan reached out and took her hand, warm, gentle, the same touch that had started it all. Kalia didn't pull away. In that moment, there were no soldiers, no prisons, no war, only two souls, one who had fallen from the stars, the other who had crawled from the dark, together. The gentle touch days passed. The wind outside howled, but the cave stayed warm. Ryan's wounds slowly healed. Kalia gathered branches and melted snow for water. Each night they shared the blanket and stories. They had nothing but time and each other. Kalia learned to laugh again. Ryan learned to smile without pain behind it. But deep down, they both knew they couldn't stay in the cave forever. One quiet morning, Kalia sat outside the cave's entrance. Snowflakes danced in the air. The sky was a soft gray. She closed her eyes and listened. Birds, wind, silence. Not alarms. Not soldiers. She reached down and touched the soft earth. I never thought I'd see the sky without bars in front of it, she whispered. Behind her, Ryan stepped out slowly, wrapped in a blanket. You picked a good planet, he said. She smiled. I crashed us here. He sat beside her. Still, better than where we came from. They sat in silence. Then Ryan spoke again, quietly. I've been thinking, we could make this place ours. Kalia turned to him. You mean, stay? He nodded. I can build shelter. There's water nearby. Food will be harder, but we'll find it. Her eyes filled with tears. You'd stay. Here, with me. Ryan looked at her, serious but gentle. Kalia, ever since I saw you in that cage, I knew you were different. Not because you were alien, but because even chained, even hurt, you still had hope. She blinked away the tears. I was scared. I still am. So am I, he said softly. But we don't have to be scared alone. That night, Kalia did something she never thought she would. She sang. A soft song from her homeworld. A lullaby mothers sang to sleeping children. Her voice echoed gently through the cave. Ryan watched her. When she finished, she looked down shyly. It's not beautiful in your language. He shook his head. It's more than beautiful. It's yours. That's what makes it perfect. Her face turned warm. She moved closer and rested her head on his shoulder. He didn't move away. Instead, he placed his arm gently around her, a touch without fear, a touch that healed. Winter slowly faded. Ryan built a small cabin using old ship, parts and wood from the trees. Kalia painted symbols from her people on the walls. She taught him her language, and he taught her how to use human tools. They lived simply, but it was enough, more than enough. Because now, she could stand tall, without chains, because now, He could wake without regret. One evening while watching the sunset, Ryan took her hand. "Kalia," he said softly, "do you ever regret it? Escaping? Running?" She looked at him with steady eyes. "If I hadn't, I never would have met you." He smiled. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out something small, a ring made from old ship wire and blue crystal glass. Her eyes widened. "This is how humans do it," he said nervously. "We call it a promise." She touched the ring gently. "What kind of promise?" He looked into her glowing blue eyes. "That I'll protect you, cherish you, that no matter what comes next, we face it together." Kalia said nothing. Instead, she took his hand and slid the ring onto her own finger. Then she leaned in and kissed his cheek. Soft, warm, real. "You saved me," she whispered. He smiled, eyes glistening. "You saved me first." Years later, across the galaxy, people still whispered about the escaped alien girl. Some said she was a monster. Some said she vanished into the stars. But no one knew the truth. No one knew that far away, on a quiet, frozen world, the girl who once feared human hands now held one every night as she drifted to sleep safe, loved, and free.